Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Pearly. So today we are going to talk about accent. Yay, clap hands, clap hands. So actually quite many of you guys have wrote to me something like, oh, I really like your accent. Your accent sounds nice, sounds good, or something like, how can I develop an accent like you, and things like that. I just want to say thank you so much for your compliments. I'm really happy to hear them. Oh, and by the way, there are like construction work going on outside me right now, so I hope with the microphone that I have right now, it's not going to be too loud and too annoying. But anyway, if you have already been following me for a long while, I think you probably already noticed that my accent actually evolved over time. You know, like my accent wasn't like this before. So if you go back and check out my first few videos, I think you will notice the differences of my accent. So I just want to say that if you are not so happy with the accent you have right now, or you think your accent is bad, is just not so good, then it is totally possible to change it. No worries about that. I'm a living proof of that. You know, I also kind of change my accent as time goes by. Oh, by the way, in this video, I'm not just talking about English accent. All these practices work for any foreign languages you want to learn or you are learning right now. So anyway, I'll first briefly share with you why I think having a good accent is important. So I'll first share with you my definition of a good accent. You know, what is a good accent? So for me, I think a good accent is never really about, you know, having a perfect or like native accent. For example, like Native American accent, Native British accent, and things like that. It's never really my goal to reach that. And I'm actually totally fine with having some Mandarin accent from time to time in some of my words or sentences, because that's my mother tongue and this is, you know, just where I'm coming from. This is my culture. So I think it actually makes the accent interesting when you talk to others, if you sometimes bring out some of your like native language accent. So I think it's totally fine to have that. My definition of having a good accent actually means two things. First of all, it is at least understandable to others. I think it is important. And second of all, it sounds good to your ears. It sounds comfortable to your ears and also others' ears as well. I think these two things are my definition of a good accent. So why having a good accent is important? First of all, I think because when you speak to others, it's all about communication, right? Your end goal is to facilitate your communication process with others. So of course you want others to understand you, and if you have a good accent, then it will just be easier for others to understand you. So it will just make the whole communication process easier, in my opinion. Second of all, I think having a good accent is also going to help boost your level of confidence immensely. So just imagine when you are not even confident with your own accent, like you don't even really like your own accent, you think your accent is bad or things like that, then of course you will feel a bit just not so comfortable and a bit even embarrassing or like awkward whenever you are going to say something, because you just feel that your accent is not going to be understood by others, or your accent is going to sound weird or things like that. So I think if you like your own accent, it definitely going to help you a lot, like a lot, in terms of your level of confidence when you are going to speak to others. So that's two of the reasons why I think having a good accent is super important. And I think one really funny thing is that when you have a good accent, even if you only know maybe like one sentence in your target language and you speak that out, a lot of like native speakers, if you have a good accent, they will instantly think that you already speak that language really well. Which I think this kind of situation always kind of like, it's really fun for me. It's very interesting, and they will like start to talk a lot of things to you, say a lot of things to you, because they already assume that you're already good at this language because your pronunciation is good. Okay, so now finally I'm going to share with you how you could improve your accent or develop a good accent. So basically you only need to do two things. First of all, mimic a lot. Second of all, listen a lot. So basically you mimic the accent that you like a lot, and then you also listen to the accent you like a lot. As simple and straightforward as that. So let's first talk about mimicking. Mimicking is just super important. The skill of mimicking others. Like, I think if you have observed closely, you will notice that people who has good accent are generally people who is really good at mimicking others, and not just like others' pronunciation, but also their tones, their rhythms, their inflections, where do they put emphasis, where do they pose, things like that in general. So if you are good at mimicking all the nuances when people talk, when native speakers talk, then there's a high chance that your accent is going to be really good. Of course, when we talk about mimicking others, what practices do we do? Shadowing practice, of course, right? Like, I have no idea how many times I already talk about shadowing practice on my channel. So if you are interested in checking out the more general tips, general methods of how to conduct shadowing practices, then you can watch this video. However, in this video, it's more like I'm going to share with you how to improve your accent version of shadowing practices. So there are some differences. Let's get right in. Step 1. Pick an accent you like and mimic it and shadow it. So basically try to find your language parent. I think this concept of having a language parent is super interesting. So just imagine with your mother tongue when you were still a kid, you basically mimic the sounds you heard around you, right? They are going to be from your parents, your siblings, your grandparents, or your relatives and people like that. And when it comes to foreign languages, you can also do the same thing. Just find that person who has like an accent that you like and mimic him or her, shadow him or her. That's all you're gonna do. I think it's going to be more effective to have a language parent than trying to copy a regional accent or a country's accent. I don't know, I think it's just easier to understand for me when I have like actually like a person there to mimic, to shadow, if that makes sense. And if you are still a beginner, of course, it's better to find videos that provide subtitles. But if you're already like an intermediate or advanced learners, you don't necessarily need to stick with the videos that provide subtitles. You can also find videos that don't have subtitles if that's the accent that you like. So for example, I really like Natalie Lane accent. So all of her videos don't have subtitles, but I just love watching them and listening to them. And some of her videos, I think I watched at least like 50 times or something like that because I just really like her accent. So you get what I mean. That's the first step. And second step, after you found that video, found your language parent, found the accent that you like, and just start with mimicking it, like shadow it word by word, you know, not the full sentence or like 2 words, 3 words, but 1 word at a time. And just like play it, pause it, and try to pronounce that word, mimic that word, and don't move on until you think you perfected the sound of that word. So just keep doing it until you finish the whole sentence, and then try to read the whole sentence all together, and just basically just repeat all this process again and again until you finish the whole video. So it really depends on the length of your video, but if it's a long video, and when I say long, I mean like maybe longer than 5 minutes, it's already quite long, because you will realize after you start doing this practice, it's very time consuming. But I mean, like, it's nice. You only need basically 1 video. You don't need to find a lot of videos. You only need 1 video, and then just repeat that video again and again and again. There are a few things that you need to pay attention to, you know, where you are doing this shadowing practice. First of all, not only mimic the pronunciation, but also pay attention to their inflection, their tone, their pitch. Even if it doesn't sound like a relevant nuance, just try to mimic everything and just mirror the sound as perfectly as you can. And you can even put a mirror beside you and try to just speak it when you are looking at yourself in the mirror, so you can better visualize the whole thing, like your mouth shape and things like that. And also, when you are doing this shadowing practice, when you are trying to repeat after someone, try to just exaggerate those words. And I know, like, in the beginning you will feel kind of stupid to exaggerate this whole things, but I think when you have like a accent, if you don't just intentionally exaggerate the sounds that you would like to develop, the accent that you would like to develop, it is easy to fall back to your own accent, to the accent you originally have, which is not good, not something that you want to do. So just really try to exaggerate it. And also, when doing like this shadowing practice, there's no need to focus on the meaning of the vocabulary, because like your goal is just to improve your pronunciation, improve your accent. So it's totally fine. You don't need to put too much and mental effort and energy into trying to understand what the word means. Okay, so after you finish the whole video, try to just like print out the whole scripts, or you just like write them down and try to read all of them to yourself. I think it's really interesting because after you have done step 2, you basically, all the sounds already kind of like naturally went into your head, like you absorbed them already. So after you finish the whole video and then you try to read out loud the whole script to yourself, a lot of times you just automatically know that, okay, I pronounce this and this doesn't sound correct, this doesn't sound natural, and you will just correct yourself. And if you reach that level, it's amazing. It means that you already started to know how to pronounce a word yourself. You don't need the help from others anymore. You don't need to listen to that sound anymore. This like practice is so powerful in my opinion, because it's really going to help you to develop your muscle memory. And once you memorize it, you just like, you can carry your accent, your pronunciation habits to all the other words. So that's why I said that it is okay to only have 1 or 2 videos to do this practice with. You really don't need to have that many videos, because automatically after you get really familiarized with it, your pronunciation habit, your accent is just going to be carried over to all the other words that you are going to pronounce in the future, if that makes sense. And another tip, I think is just, for me personally, I think it's so magical and so powerful, is I think in all the languages, when you speak it, there's always a melody in it. Like, you can try to find a melody in your target language, and when you find that, you will feel like it feels much more enjoyable and just comfortable and fun and interesting to pronounce them. It's just going to be easier for you to develop a good accent if you found like a melody in the language that you are trying to learn. Let me try to give you like an examples of different languages that I speak. So I'll first start with Spanish. El pasado noviembre visité Barcelona. El clima era perfecto y la ciudad estaba llena de vida. Me encantaron las arquitecturas y la comida, especialmente la paella, mi favorita. Fue una experiencia increíble. So, things like that. Especially, I think when you try to just listen to a language that you know nothing of, then you start to notice that, yeah, there's like tempo, rhythm in each languages. So there's like melody in it. Okay, so let's try with French right now and see if you can feel like the melody kind of changes. Ma première visite à Paris en septembre dernier a été juste incroyable. L'architecture est vraiment magnifique et chaque bâtiment a une histoire, est un charme unique. L'ambiance est tout simplement magique et il y a tellement de parcs, des librairies et des musées, ce que j'adore. Et je trouve qu'il y a toujours quelque chose à faire à Paris. Par exemple, des promenades le long de la Seine aux petites découvertes dans chaque quartier. C'est vraiment top. And let me try with Japanese right now. 私の東京での4年間の生活について話すね。日本の大学に通いながら東京での生活を思いっきり楽しめたよ。東京って本当に快適で街は綺麗だし安全だし周りの人もみんな親切で助かれることが多かったんだよね。あと生活が超便利。欲しいものはほぼ何でも手に入れるし遊ぶ場所もたくさんあるから毎日が新鮮で飽きなかった。東京での4年間は本当に素敵な思い出いっぱいできたよ。So, I think you can tell yeah, just like the melody and the whole atmosphere changes. Lastly, let me try with Arabic. والعربي بصراحة أنا ما ذكرتش عربي بقالي فترة طويلة فأنا مش ممكن أتكلم عربي كويس دلوقتي عشان ناسيت حاجات كتير أظن عربي صعب جدا بالنسبة لي النطق صعب أوي بس حاول أقصى ما عندي. Okay, so now with my demonstration, I hope you can feel just a little bit what I'm trying to say about the melody. Lastly, I just want to briefly share with you my personal tips on how to just make your pronunciation sound better, or make your accent sound better when talking to others. So I just want to say that I think when it comes to what kind of accent sounds good, it can be really personal because everybody's preferences are different. So ultimately, what I'm going to share right now is just my preferences. So first of all, just try to speak slower, especially when you are still not so fluent in this language. Just don't try to speed up your own speech, because when you speed up, first of all, you will get really nervous because sometimes you just couldn't find the word, and when you become really nervous, your accent will just kind of go back to the original accent that you have, which is of course not something that we want. So just try to speak slower. I think in general, even in my own native tongue, I also try to speak slower because I think it's just sounds better, sounds comfortable when someone speaks slower to me. I really don't like it when someone speaks too fast. It feels too rushing in my opinion. And second of all, I also prefer people to use lower pitch. I actually am not a big fan of those really high pitch. I just don't feel like it sounds good to my ears. So yeah, I also prefer lower pitch. You can also try that out. And also I like the accent that sounds soft. So I actually kind of intentionally speak softer. I also remind myself to pause from time to time. I think the whole feeling of your speech is going to flow better when you just know when to pause and just pause from time to time. Not always and then just finish the whole sentence without even pausing in any of the places. I don't know, I just feel like when I listen to that kind of speech, I just couldn't concentrate and I just couldn't really understand what is he or she trying to say, because it's just, there's no rest time, basically. And again, just like what I said, try to speak with the melody in your head, in your talking language. And last but not least, just try to relax. Just when you relax, you can just naturally have a really good sounding accent. But when you're too nervous, you might just go back to your old accent that you don't like, or you just start to get very tense and then your accent just doesn't sound that agreeable anymore. And just lastly in this video, I just want to say that there's no need to pressure yourself to develop a really perfect native accent, because because for most of us, it's going to be very difficult to reach that. And I don't think there is even a need to reach that kind of level. And of course, if you want to reach that level, and if you really like that accent, of course, you can strive for that. But I just don't want you to pressure too much on yourself and beat yourself too hard if you don't have that perfect accent. It's just like what I said, totally fine to have kind of like accent from your native tongue. And actually, I think that's what make accents so diverse and so interesting, and it can be really cute from time to time. So that's basically it, the end of this video, and I hope you find it helpful. And if you have any extra questions, just feel free to leave comments below and I'll try my best to answer them. And thank you so much again for joining me today. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. Have a good day. Bye bye.